I know it's easy to say, okay, hard to do. But you know what the bottom line is in life? If it's too easy, we take it for granted. Okay. And if it's too difficult, we run away. If it doesn't happen right away, we run away. Well, look, don't leave before the miracle happens.
Take control of your life. Break the chains and rise. No more feeling powerless. No more shame. Take your power. Break out of the pain. Because it's more than fornication. More than procreation. It's not just self-stimulation. Sex energy is for creation and transformation into a new destination.
This is Porn Talk.
Porn Talk.
This is Porn Talk.
Welcome to Porn Talk. This is Powerful Eric. This show is not just about breaking addictions, it's about breaking belief systems. We are bound by self-imposed and societal chains. Break those rusty, nasty old chains right now. And boy, do I have a guest for you today. In this compelling episode, we have John Giordano, a true champion in the realm of addiction recovery and martial arts. I would call him the Rocky Balboa of martial arts and addiction recovery. John's journey is nothing short of inspirational. From his challenging childhood in the South Bronx to overcoming personal battles with addiction, John has transformed his life and the lives of countless others through his holistic approach to treatment. And Mr. Giordano has appeared on countless notable TV shows like the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric. He's been on Fox. He's been on NBC with Tom Brokaw. He's been on CNN with Wolf Blitzer in The Situation Room. What? He is a true inspiration. Geraldo, A&E, the list goes on. And John is the founder of the National Institute for Holistic Addiction Studies and the author of multiple acclaimed books, including The Kid from the South Bronx Who Never Gave Up and How to Beat Your Addictions and Live a Quality Life. His story of turning $300 into a $45 million empire is a testament to his relentless spirit and dedication to helping others. In this episode, John shares his roadmap for positive change, emphasizing the importance of never giving up on your dreams and passions. Join us as we delve into John's incredible life story and his groundbreaking work in addiction recovery. Welcome, John.
Thank you very much. I love doing these podcasts because, I want to encourage people to realize that they can do anything, okay, in life, no matter what kind of family they come from, no matter what kind of trials and tribulations that they come through in their life journey. So what I like to do usually is give you a little background of myself so you can understand where I'm coming from.
Yeah, please do.
Life is not just about money and success and all of that. It's about becoming a better human being. It's about helping other people that are less fortunate than you. And most of all, it's about helping yourself because you can't help anyone unless you help yourself. So let me just start with my family was a mafia type family. My uncle was a hitman. My grandfather was a Shylock. Those are people that loan you money. And if you don't pay, you'll pay one way or the other. My father was a heroin dealer. And my other family members were nefarious types that did, different things. Well, all I could say is my father, when I was 8, went to jail. He got caught selling heroin, and he went to jail for 4 years. My uncle, who was the hitman, threw my wedding when I was 20, and the caterer insulted him in front of the family, so he killed him the next morning.
Wow.
So we had to leave town real quick. But my family, okay, was a real loving family, but just don't mess with them. I just tell you the way it is. Okay. So, growing up in that, I got molested when I was 8.5 by some boys in the neighborhood, and it was very confusing for me because there was part of me that liked it, even though I was full of shame and guilt, and I didn't want my family to find out. Otherwise, I would have killed myself. This is what I was thinking at 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
At 8.5. At 9, I got molested by my babysitter. She was 14. And there was another trauma in my life. I was scared. I didn't know what to think about it. It felt good, but it felt not correct.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wound up being in gangs when I was a kid, all kinds of different gangs with different cultures, Black gangs, Hispanic, Irish, Italian. And, I was kind of lost kid. My father was in jail. I had to protect my mom. And, I also got left back in the 6th grade because I was a class clown and I wasn't paying attention to school. So going up, and then I became a traumatologist later on in recovery and things like that. And I work with people that have trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with sex addicts. I work with drug and alcohol addicts. I also work with people, PTSD. I work with police officers that have been in shootings. I'm also a chaplain for the North Miami Police Department. I work with guys coming back from Iraq, Afghanistan, women that have been molested, raped. My life has taken a complete 360 turn. I said I would never be like my family, and eventually I became that. When I was 14 and a half, I got into karate, and karate really helped me get out of the gangs and took all that anger, all that energy, and put it in a different direction. And for a while, for at least, I don't know, till I was about 20. And then when my uncle killed the caterer and all that kind of stuff, I started getting into drugs and I started doing all of that. And eventually I became a drug dealer. And eventually I used to do collection work for the smugglers. And I used to teach one of the cartels, all their bodyguards, martial arts. I did a lot of nefarious things. Also, never got arrested. I don't know how that happened. God was watching over me.
That is miraculous.
I also stopped believing in God. And, as far as I was concerned, how could there be a God? Look what he does to all these people. Like God was in charge of killing everybody. I don't know. But anyway, I got out of hand and my family did an intervention on me. That means they all got together, my family and some of my friends, and they said I needed to go to treatment. I'm wondering who's doing an intervention on them because I thought they needed to go to treatment. Okay. But, that's how life shows up. And I wound up going in treatment. And I don't want to give you the whole story because I want to get to the addictions part and the mental health part. But anyway, I wound up having a spiritual awakening in treatment. And what that means, I'll give you a little brief scenario of that. It was around the 3rd week in treatment. I went into treatment in December 4th. And I wanted to go home for Christmas Eve. I didn't want my children to see me in the hospital. And I really wanted to go home because my friends would come over with Christmas cards with cocaine in it. So it had nothing to do with my children. Us addicts, we're all about self-centeredness and selfishness. It's all about us, not about them or anybody else, matter of fact. Even though we make like we are, but we aren't. And they said no. And so I got really pissed off. So I didn't just get angry. I got rageful. And when I got rageful, it didn't go away right away. Sometimes it took even days. But what happened is I went into my room, I punched the door, and I started throwing stuff around and really angry. And then I remember my therapist telling me, John, you ever get on your knees and pray to God? I said, give me a break. I'm a recovering Catholic. I got calluses on my knees. Okay. So
me too, by the way, me too.
Yeah, right. I call myself a recovering Catholic.
Yeah.
Anyway, so what happened was I I said, you know what? I was in so much pain and so much confusion. I started to clear up after 3 weeks from the drugs, and all the shame and all the guilt and all the remorse and all this stuff started coming to the surface, and I didn't know how to deal with all these emotions. So I tried to get my knee down, and I couldn't. I know that may sound strange to somebody, but felt strange to me too. And finally, I pushed my knee down. I had to push my other knee down. And I said, look, I don't know what's out there, God, energy, I don't know. Please, I'll do whatever you want. Just take this away from me. I cannot deal with this pain and anger and suffering. And my anger went away like it never was there. And I said, no, this can't be possible. So I tried to bring it back, and I couldn't bring it back. And that was my spiritual awakening. And from then on in, it goes on in the story. If you get the book, The Kid from the South Bronx Who Never Gave Up, you'll see the whole story. Fast forward, I got out of treatment, did all of that stuff, wanted to help other people get recovery, and I wound up going back to school because I only went to the 9th grade. So if those of you are watching and you don't have an education, look, I couldn't spell very well. Well, I got spell check now, so everything's cool. All right. My grammar wasn't the greatest. Oh, but they got grammar check. So now we're in, man. Don't worry about it. Computers are it. Okay. Join the AI revolution.
Yeah. If I may interrupt. So John, when you were younger, you went into the 9th grade?
9th grade.
Yeah. And now you have a PhD, right?
Yeah. What happened was I got a lot of things. I have a certified addiction professional. I got a master's in addiction counseling. I got a master's in neuro-linguistic program. I'm a hypnotherapist, holotropic breathing. I have it's an honorary, a doctorate degree that they gave me. Matter of fact, they wanted me to go to Israel. The mayor of Jerusalem was going to give me the diploma and all the hoopla and stuff, and I didn't want to go to Israel at the time. I said, look, I come from a bad neighborhood. I don't want to go to another bad neighborhood. And everybody was telling me, no, it's safe. I said, okay, you go, and I don't want to go. So they did it at a shul, and it was myself and the mayor of North Miami. We received honorary doctorate degrees.
Yeah. And if I may, and this is just what he's mentioning here is just the tip of the iceberg. Like if you read his book, like he's got so many different credentials and so many different things, not to mention all the grandmaster martial arts stuff. I mean, it really is extraordinary. Like when I read this book, the Kid from the South Bronx Who Would Never Give Up, I was blown away. Like how many things can one person do in a lifetime? And by the way, I didn't mention, John is 78 years young.
August 27, I'll be 78.
Okay, in August you'll be 78. And if you're on video, you look at this man. Like I would have thought maybe he's in his 60s.
I'm wearing a mask. Don't look at me.
But like I'm just so blown away by you, and like some of the stories that John is mentioning. Like there are so many incredible stories. And I'm sorry I interrupt. So
no, not at all.
So tell us, when we first met, the first words out of my mouth were, and I knew nothing about John at the time, I said, you got this Rocky Balboa vibe to you. And then he goes on to say that basically he's been doing martial arts for pretty much his entire life. And I'm talking like serious, very serious level. And so I really, like I said in the intro, I consider you the Rocky Balboa of martial arts and addiction recovery.
The martial arts really helped me tremendously. I'm in a black belt. I'm in a couple of black belt Hall of Fames, and I don't know how many times. I say 5-time national karate champion. It was way more than that, but I don't want to sound ridiculous, so I just say 5 times. Who cares? I've trained hundreds of thousands of people, actually. I have hundreds of black belts that are national world karate champions. I even used to teach the blind and the handicapped.
Yes.
And my blind black belt became a national karate champion in forms. And I also I'll tell you a quick little story. His name was David Jane Chill. He was he had retinitis pigmentosa. He could see like maybe shadows, but he really couldn't see at all. And in order for me to teach him, I had to blindfold myself, so my reference points were his reference points. Because as being sighted, your reference points are totally different than a blind person. And David would come in, and he said he wanted to study karate, right? And he's bumping into walls, and I thought this guy was stoned. They said, listen, I said, you can't do drugs here, He said, I'm not stoned, I'm blind. I said, well, where's your cane? I don't want a cane. I said, okay. So he says, I want to become a black belt. So I laughed at him. I said, yeah, okay, you want to become a black belt? Okay. Yeah, sign this paper. In case you die, I'm not responsible, right? So anyway, David, if you just touched him, he would fall on the floor and he would start screaming in pain. Okay, and I used to kick him when he was on the floor. I know that sounds terrible, but my teacher was a Marine DI. That means a drill instructor, and a very rough teacher. I could go into a whole thing with that. But anyway, that's how I taught. They'd probably get arrested if I taught that way today. But anyway, and I used to just keep banging him around until eventually he stopped doing that. And he was focused on becoming a black belt. And what happened I think it was a green belt, I put him in a tournament to fight. And he said, I can't see the opponent. I said, don't worry, he's in front of you. So the people that were running the tournament said, you can't put him in, he's blind. I says, that's discrimination. I says, you can't do it. I just don't let anybody know he's blind. All right. So what I did was I walked him into the ring shoulder to shoulder without any cane. He got him there. He fought this guy. This guy was huge. David was a skinny little guy. All right, probably 140 pounds, wet, soaking wet. Anyway, he beat the guy. And then I walked out with his cane, and he tapped off the mat. The guy sat down and cried, the one that lost.
Oh, my gosh.
And the next guy, he almost beat him too. So Dave, nobody in the dojo wanted to fight him because he couldn't see you, and you run into his kicks and punches, you wind up getting damaged.
Wow.
So then he became a national champion, and he became a ninth degree black belt eventually after 40-something years.
Anything is possible. Wow.
Oh, let me tell you, guys out there, listen, it's all in your mindset. I know it's easy to say, okay, and hard to do. But what the bottom line is in life? If it's too easy, we take it for granted. Okay? And if it's too difficult, we run away. If it doesn't happen right away, we run away. Well, look, don't leave before the miracle happens. I mean, if you would ever tell me where I would be today compared to where I was in the beginning of this journey, I would probably punch you in the face, thinking you're making fun of me. Here's a kid from the South Bronx, gangs, family, all of this stuff, and not educated. I was so insecure, you would never know it, of course. You ever see those commercials with the mask and they take the mask off and they're depressed? That was me. Even when I won tournaments, I would say, the competition wasn't that good. The judges liked me. I would never take credit for my accomplishments. I would always put myself down. I should be doing better, and on and on and on. But see, that self-talk, you have to change. And that dialogue runs. And that runs from when I was a little kid. I was a fat little kid. Well, not really fat little kid, but, to me, they used to call me Fat John. And, and I was afraid of kids. And I was, what happened one day, I was watching a movie, a television show, in those little square boxes with the magnifying glass. I'm 77, I'll be 78, so it's like old time, right?
Right.
And I saw the Keystone Cops. Now, the Keystone Cops, they used to move really quick and, beat the people up with the nightsticks and all this kind of stuff. And I said, I wonder if I move really quick, if I can beat these guys that are picking on me. So I used to have a neighbor that used to always pick on me. So I came out of my house one day, and he came out of his, and he started to push me around. And I just started swinging crazy and fighting like crazy, not even know what the heck I was doing. I beat him. I beat up every kid in the neighborhood that ever picked on me. And that's what I wound up doing. and I wind up having a kind of like an eating disorder because I didn't want to be Fat John anymore, and my mother had to take me to the doctor. I was anemic, and my mother started really, how can that be possible? It's an Italian mother; they feed you everything, and that's what happened. So I went through a lot of things, and going to your show, which is a porn. I was never addicted to porn, okay, but sex addiction, yeah. Because I know, because I treat a lot of people with sexual addictions. When people get molested, for some reason, we all look at things differently, and very difficult addiction. Just like all the addictions are difficult, and it's called RDS. Dr. Blum, who I work with, he's the geneticist who found the main addiction gene. It was called the DRD2-ILE1 variant gene. There was other genes involved, but that's the main driver. It's a lack of dopamine and serotonin. Those are the feel-good drugs that we manufacture naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is when that runs low, we look to build that back up. And what happens is that if you're not doing drugs, you're doing sex. If you're not doing sex, you're doing shopping. If you're not doing shopping, you're doing gambling. If you're not doing gambling, you're doing porn. If you're not doing porn, you're playing video games till you fall asleep on the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
You become out of touch with reality. And then you go through all the emotional roller coaster ride of, the guilt of not being with your family, of lying, of manipulating, then feeling bad about it. You go through this whole cycle of addiction behavior, and it's a difficult thing to deal with. And you just go, you go to meetings, have a sponsor, go to therapy, talk about it. Communication's key. And and if you fall down, you get back up and just keep going again. Okay, but you have to recognize it as something that's detrimental. Look, is porn addiction bad or good? It all depends, okay? If it's an addiction, but what is addiction? Okay, we keep throwing these terms around, but what is addiction? Addiction is when you continue to use a substance or a behavior, I make it simple,
Mm-hmm.
in spite of adverse consequences.
Right.
Okay, so if you have all these adverse consequences and you continue to do this, then maybe you have a problem.
Yeah.
And maybe you need to do your best how to take care of that. But if you don't, okay, and it's not interfering with your life, and it's not interfering with your family, and it's not interfering with your spiritual nature, okay, and anything like that, go for it.
Yeah.
But usually that's not the case.
Yeah. I love your definition, because with that definition, like anger, rage, somebody could be addicted to being rageful, because I know in your book you talk a lot about, wanting to punch people in the face and kill people. And of course you didn't kill anybody. But I don't know if you can see it on your end there, but the mascot for the show is he's a little penis man.
Oh, that's what that is. I couldn't figure out what that was.
Yeah, it's a little penis man, and he's holding a smartphone. He's holding a smartphone, and we had a contest to name him, and his name is Raging Richard. And the joke is, don't be like Raging Richard. Don't be a dick. And so if you could speak to the rage aspect and how martial arts helped you in that regard. And
well, what I tell people is, don't listen to the little head, listen to the big head. And women also have porn addiction. But why is it? It's not even necessarily porn addiction. Look, you can utilize porn to enhance your relationships. Okay, as long as you do it together and it's okay with each other, that's fine. But if you're sneaking around, okay, and not telling your mate what you're doing and what's going on, maybe something you have to take a look at. Something's wrong with that. Most relationships, you have to, years of relationship. Look, let's just get honest with each other. Is that if you don't continuously feed that relationship with love, with understanding, with communication, and not hiding things that are inside of your head. It's like most guys always looking at girls, even if they're with a girl or with their wife, all right? And then, wife, of course, gets upset and all this kind of stuff. They all do that. We all do that. I don't care what you say, okay? So the bottom line is that why do guys do that? Because that's what guys do, okay? I'm not saying all. I never say all of anything. But, people do that. But, it's not like my wife is beautiful inside and out. It's not just about the outside. I had a lot of outside beauties, but they had nothing inside because I had nothing inside. You attract what you are, and the more you improve upon yourself, the more you attract people into your life that are like-minded. And it all has to do with us. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Us addicts, we blame everybody, people, places, and things. Okay? We have to take responsibility for our own actions. Okay? If you're hurting yourself or you're hurting somebody else, okay, then maybe you should not do that. And the bottom line is that if you keep open communication with the person you're with, and you love them, like I love my wife more than anything in the world, and we're together going on 29 years. Now, I've been married 4 times. My father told me, keep doing it till you get it right. Okay. So to me, my wife is the most special woman I've ever met in my entire life. And there's a lot of reasons I say that because look, talking the talk is one thing, walking the walk is a whole other ballgame. When I met my wife, I give you a quick little story. She was actually in my first treatment center. I didn't even know because I didn't even know she was in there. So I never paid attention to the women. And anyway, over the years, we used to run each other when I was lecturing or teaching class or something. And so far what happened was my son, she was an intern, and she came into my group. She was chewing gum. And I said, get the gum out of your mouth and sit down. And she sat down. And my son said to me afterwards, because I had my son with me because he got thrown out of class because he was acting out. And I had to take him to work with me. And he said, that girl likes you. I said, oh, okay. So when she got into the office, I handed her my card. And I said, listen, if you want to be an intern, you can come to my center and you can work with me. So 2 weeks later, I get a call. I said, oh, yeah, I remember you. I said, you want to be an intern? When would you like to start? She said, no, I want to go out with you. So I said, you want to go out with me? I said, okay, yeah, for sure. Okay. Long story short, we went out and we're together about 3 months. And I was building my new treatment center and I needed money. And she had a brand new car. And the kids were wrecking the car. She had 2 kids. And I said, why don't you sell your car and give me the money? And one day I'll buy your car 10 times better. So she sold her car.
And I know keep going. I know what kind of car from the book that you ended up buying.
Right. So she sold the car, gave me $20,000. And about, 7-8 years later, I bought her a Bentley. Now, all I can tell you, what woman does that? Her family was against her. What are you doing? You're crazy. You know this guy for 3 months. She says, I believe in him, and that hasn't changed. And she's always by my side. She's a recovering addict also. She has mental health issues also. But we work together on it, and I have my issues. Mm-hmm. She helps me and I help her. That's what relationships about. We don't hold resentments with each other. Probably the reason why it worked is not even probably is because I had a broken picker. Everybody I picked didn't work out. So she picked me, so it worked out. But, that's that story in relationships anyway.
Yeah. Well, John, for this part of the podcast, we are going to draw to a close here, and we are going to have John back on the next episode. And we would like to pick his brain about all the alternative recovery methods that he uses. And maybe you can tell us a little bit about how he turned that $300 to $45 million. And John, it's a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Are you struggling with porn or sex addiction? Then apply for a free strategy call with Eric today at powerfuleric.com.